Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Oasis Focus in Finance show. I'm your host, Shafiq Morton. As always, it's great to be with you. In today's show, we're going to be having a look at the upcoming financial year. Lots of things to consider: financial goals, financial planning, unexpected windfalls, and of course, unexpected expenses, as well as maximizing your tax benefits within the law. Joining us today are Zara Cachalia and Yusuf Ebrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam, Shafiq, and thank you for having us.
Wa alaikum salam, Shafiq.
Yusuf, let's start off with the first question. What would be our major considerations for the upcoming financial year? I'm sitting here, I've got a pen and a paper, I'm thinking, what does 2019 hold for me financially?
Look, Shafiq, as noted last week during the economic and market update, global economic growth is expected to decline slightly over the current year, and that was confirmed by the IMF's World Economic Forum in Davos, where growth for 2019 was revised from 3.7% to 3.5%. In addition, there is currently a significant amount of economic uncertainty in most parts of the world, which would suggest that the downside risk is potentially on the increase, such as the trade wars, we've got Brexit, and also elections in Europe, to name a few. Many of these concerns also have a knock-on effect on the current and future state of the South African economy. And it is important that individuals are prepared for what is expected throughout the rest of 2019. The first aspect that one should be aware of is that during periods of high economic uncertainty, it becomes more important to manage your expenditure items. Hence, you need to think about where you can save money and cut costs. This may mean a critical evaluation of where and how you live, whether you eat out, go on holiday, or purchase a new car. Think about your choices, preferences, and actions, and if you are prone to frivolous spending, then you may want to keep a written list that includes details of each expense that you have incurred. This will allow you to keep track of the money that you spend each month. Once you are aware of where your money is going, you will then be able to think about where you can save money and cut costs. If you don't currently make use of a household budget, then this may be an ideal time to put one in place. With a household budget, you will be able to make better choices with the money you have, and over time, you will be able to refine your expenditure estimates with actual costs so that your plan of action will be consistent with financial resources. Similarly so, one should also have a careful look at your debt repayments. In an ideal situation, it would not be a good idea to take on additional debt during periods of relatively high economic turbulence. The reason for this is that an increase in debt would increase your personal risk status. The cost of debt is going to become quite expensive. When looking to reduce your amount of debt, it is usually a good idea to firstly take a look at your current level of short-term debt, such as credit card debt, an overdraft, a personal loan, or even store card credit. This type of debt usually attracts the highest rate of interest, so by looking to reduce this form of debt, you'll be able to improve your overall financial position. Like almost all financial events, you need to establish some form of plan for the additional repayments that you'll be able to make to nullify the negative effects that short-term loans have on your financial well-being. For example, you may decide to contribute an additional 2,000 Rand to the repayment of short-term debt to ensure that this is repaid within the shortest possible time. Thereafter, once you have reduced your short-term debt, you can then start to tackle your medium-term debt. These debt instruments may include your car financing schemes that usually last for a number of years. Like the case of short-term debt, you really need to try to reduce your amount of medium-term debt to a manageable level. Then finally, when you've repaid your short-term and medium-term debt, obviously within a reasonable amount of time, so you then need to look at your level of long-term debt, and typically this would be used to finance the purchase of a house, and it usually attracts a low level of interest. Unfortunately, it's not always possible to repay a mortgage over a short period of time. So it is important you ensure that the level of long-term debt that you're exposed to is manageable. In addition, if you elect to make use of excessive leverage, then the rate of interest that is charged by a financial institution may be relatively high. As noted previously, You really need to avoid these situations, as this could have a dramatic effect on your financial well-being.
Okay, Zahra, Yusuf has spoken about budgets. I heard that word, the magic word with a capital B, and the necessity for financial planning. So take us through the nuts and bolts of this whole process of actually financial planning.
Thank you, Shafiq. So all good plans start with the end in mind. So firstly, what you'd need to do is identify your goals and objectives and understand what it is exactly that you want to achieve with your finances. So for the short term, it could mean a holiday. Over the medium term, it could be a down payment on a house or sending your child to university. And then over the long term, we look at your retirement savings. Secondly, you need to understand your worth. What is your income? What are your assets? And how much they're actually worth? Essentially, what you want is a clear understanding of your financial position so that you can understand how you can reach your goals realistically.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is to then add your income and understand exactly where it's being sourced. Does it come from your job? Is it a supplementary income that you receive from perhaps being a consultant, or do you own one or more property? You also then need to work out your expenses and get a clear and firm understanding of where your income is being allocated to. It could be towards rent, a bond, debt repayments. You could be financing your car, paying for your utilities, and also the small things like buying a cup of coffee on your way to work in the morning. So once you have a good understanding of your expense list, you then need to split everything into your actual needs and then your wants or your nice to haves.
Mm-hmm.
So your list of needs can then be split further into fixed costs and your variable costs. Examples of your fixed costs would be things like monthly school fees or bond repayments, whereas your variable costs would be things like electricity or food, which is based on consumption on a monthly basis. Your list of needs will help you to prioritize your budget and give you clarity as to the extent to which you can tap into your wants. But your wants are essentially items that are nice to have, and they just add to your expense list, and they delay your goals from being achieved sooner. You need to be realistic, and you need to ensure that you're living within your means. After you've listed your income and expenses, plot it out on a spreadsheet, and that's how you start creating your personal financial budget. On screen, I've got an example of what your spreadsheet would typically look like. It's something that I use, and I find it quite useful when doing my financial planning. And making a list, writing it down, it helps you to improve and to optimize on your financial plan, to stay disciplined and ensure that you're able to reach your goals.
Yusuf, we've now got our financial plan in place. Zahra's kindly done that for us. But in these times, people will sometimes say, okay, then I'm now going to cut back on my savings and my investments. Is there any wisdom in that particular theory?
Look, Shafiq, it is extremely important to note that one should ensure that you continue with your existing savings and investment plans. Remember that for every rand invested, you should expect to receive many more in the future. Therefore, if you were to decide to cut back on your existing savings and investment plans, which would include your contributions to a retirement scheme, you are ultimately sacrificing your long-term wealth. For many, this has disastrous consequences, as they may be forced to compromise on their ultimate goals for life. There is also another reason why it is important to maintain your contributions to your existing savings and investment plans during periods when economic conditions are tough, since financial markets are usually somewhat depressed during these periods of time. This would imply that the prices of financial instruments are relatively low, which would suggest that these are the ideal times for purchasing financial instruments.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to experience the maximum benefit of financial growth on your investments, you need to invest as much as you can when financial instruments are attractively priced. Thereafter, you need to ensure that you are able to hold on to these instruments when economic conditions improve, so that you are able to benefit from any economic expansion. Such an investment strategy is key to financial independence and long-term wealth creation.
Now, Zahra, when we talk about keeping our investments, there are obviously certain kinds of investments that you would recommend. Just give us some more about that.
So Shafiq, firstly, one needs to ensure that the investments you make are done in an efficient way. And so with that in mind, I would encourage all investors and potential investors to look at tax-free product. With a tax-free savings product, you don't pay any dividends tax, income tax, or capital gains tax on any of the returns earned on the investment. And you can contribute a maximum of 33,000 Rand per year, subject to a lifetime limit of 500,000 Rand per person. This is a very wonderful opportunity, and we do encourage everyone to make use of it. What's also important is that we encourage individuals to make use of the tax allowances afforded to them on their retirement contributions. In both cases, the tax year ends on the last day of February each year, and to ensure that you are maximizing on your contributions, you need to make those contributions to both your tax-free savings and your retirement contributions before the end of February this year. Then, after you have contributed the maximum amount to these tax-efficient savings vehicles, you can then consider investing in collective investment schemes, which have a number of diversification benefits in a cost-efficient manner. For example, you could elect to set up a savings plan where you make regular payments into your savings or investment account. In most cases, you could set this up to ensure that the contribution to a savings plan is one of the first items that is taken off your salary every month. In such an instance, you often won't miss the money that you don't see in your bank account. It is also worth noting that you're more inclined to save if you have a specific goal in mind. This would imply that you would want to write down your savings objectives and determine how much money you'll have to save each month to reach your goals. Over and above your savings plan, you may also do ad hoc lump sum investments that may be utilized when you receive a windfall, such as an annual bonus or a gift from a family member. In this case, you could either elect to add to an existing scheme, or you may wish to start a separate plan with a unique savings objective. For example, should you want to save for a car or for your children's university.
Yusuf, Zahra just given us, in essence, the short term, very beautifully sketched it out. How do we see things in terms of the long-term continuum?
Shafiq, one of the most important goals you look at when planning is your retirement years and the provision you make to ensure that you do not compromise on the quality of life you deserve. Two key questions you need to ask yourself every year. How much is my pension going to pay me? And if I was retired right now, how long is this money going to last? If you have worked out an amount that is far below your current income, you then need to address it very quickly, and you've got a lot of work to do. Your retirement saving contributions represent your long-term savings and should be treated as a priority on your budget each month. Even if you belong to your company retirement scheme, your additional contributions or even taking out an additional retirement savings product like an RA is a wonderful way to boost your income in the later years. Remember that your retirement savings reduces your overall tax bill each year, and additional funds saved during the year, or even if you receive a bonus, you should look at putting a portion of this towards your retirement savings as a rule. The younger you are when you find out that you are not on track to a financially secure retirement, the better your chances of putting things right. A small increase in the amount you save over a long time or switching to a low-cost retirement savings product could make a big difference in your pension. Therefore, it is imperative that you create a financial plan and work through your budget every single month and continue to adjust, revisit, and revise to ensure it matches your lifestyle and the changes that may occur. Remember that in creating your financial budget, you are not alone. As financial planners, we have assisted many people in working out their personal financial plans so that they can achieve their life goals. It can be daunting, and many people put it off thinking they will do a financial plan, but in reality, this is what you really need to do and really need to plan for right now. Remember, we started off by saying planning with the end in mind. And if you cannot answer the simple question, how much will you have at retirement, then you need to contact me or any of my colleagues at Oasis urgently so that we can assist you to put your financial plan into action.
Zahra, our final question in today's program. We've spoken a lot about financial planning and financial goals, and we've got to the stage now where we're looking, in fact, at our basic investment, and we see that we have to spread our investment across something that's called asset classes. Just give us something of an explanation.
So, Shafiq, when we consider the financial or asset mix of an individual, we need to remember that each person is unique, and each of our financial circumstances will change over time depending on what life stage we're at or our financial position. It is therefore very important to get in touch with a financial advisor who is best able to guide you through this process in selecting the best asset mix for yourself. In addition, the financial advisor may also be able to assist you with preparing your financial plan, which is an essential tool which may be used when trying to assess your financial needs or to understand what your risk profile is. In addition, once you have a decent budgeting framework, you will also be able to get a reasonable estimate for what your tax expenditure would look like for the year. It is always a good idea to check the amount of tax expenditure that you may be liable for to ensure that you are paying exactly the amount of tax that you need to be paying. If you have the opinion that your taxable income is relatively excessive, then you can look at ways to reduce the amount of tax that you pay each year by investing in tax-free investments or by making additional contributions to your retirement savings schemes. Additionally, and most importantly, once you have discussed your financial plan with your advisor, it is also important to schedule regular annual reviews with your financial advisor to evaluate the degree to which you have progressed in your plan to achieve long-term wealth creation and to understand whether your investment portfolio is still suited to your current financial position, your life stage, your investment objective, your financial needs, and your financial requirements.
Zahra and Yusuf, shukran. Thanks for chatting to us on the Focus on Finance show.
Thank you, Shafiq.
Thank you, Shafiq. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. And that concludes today's edition of the Focus on Finance show. Should you wish to watch this or any of our other shows, you can log into the Oasis Crescent YouTube channel or go to LinkedIn. Should you wish to contact us, 0860 100 786 or info@oasiscrescent.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Shafiq Morton. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.